Good evening, all. Welcome to Life Made Up of Questions. Today we are having our guest, Dr. Ganesh Iyer, sir. He is from Kerala. Now he is currently working in Singapore as professor in computer science engineering. So welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So before going, we can just have a brief introduction about him. His profile, it's a big profile. So I'll be just sharing and reading. So we can see Dr. Ganesh Dr. Ganesh Neelakandan Iyer currently works as faculty at National University of Singapore in the Department of Computer Science. Prior to this, he worked in the developed teams at Salesforce, Hyderabad, and served as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, Coimbatore. He has received his bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering. He is a university first rank holder from Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala in 2004, and master's and PhD degrees from National University of Singapore in 2008 and 2012 respectively. He brings in a decade of industry experience in various companies, including Saskin Communication Technologies and NXP Semiconductors, and most recently at Progress Software. He has handled several roles in software industry, including QA architect, technical support manager, engineering development, and technology evangelist. He is a strong advocate of agile software engineering and believes in developing software products in an agile way. With his industry experience in working on large-scale enterprise software products and handling different agile roles such as Scrum Master and Product Owner, he is now imparting those software engineering knowledge to students at National University, Singapore. He has strong inclination towards game theory. He applies game theory for handling conflicts, enforcing cooperation, and for multi-agent systems. His technical knowledge and experience are in the various areas, including cloud edge for computing paradigms, including cloud platforms, Node.js, and containers, computer networks, software engineering practices, and quality analysis, economic models, that is game theoretic principles, and current day practice on cloud-based enterprise architects, IoT, based system, machine learning, and technology for traditional Indian dance such as Kathakali, popularization. His mathematical interests include game theory optimization principle, etc. Over the past several years, he has acquired practical knowledge and experience in various cutting-edge software engineering methodologies, including Agile framework, and has experience formulating and implementing various software engineering principles using Agile for large and small product development teams. So it's a long profile. So finally, Dr. Iyer is an IEEE and IEEE CS member. So his strong teaching skills and boundless passion for teaching. He has visiting faculty at IIIT Hyderabad and has been teaching various subjects, including game theory for computer science, computer networks, advanced computer networks, and scripting in computer environments. He has framed the syllabus, developed the materials and references, structured the grading schemes, and formulated continuous assessment strategies. Further, he has member board at JNTU, one of the old universities in India. He is also an expert in performing Kathakali, a traditional Indian dance. He has composed a story in Kathakali, and he spends a considerable amount of his personal time to uplift traditional art by organizing Kathakali performances, workshops, and demonstrations and performance by himself. He has also composed a Kathakali story, Sri Moogambiga Mahatmyam, which has been staged in multiple venues in India.
Thank you, sir, for a long introduction.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So that's all about, it's a long introduction and I had just skipped some of the points. Anyway, I'll be sharing the website details. So it's a great honor to have him today to discuss on the topic of game theory. So welcome you, sir, once again.
Thank you. Yeah.
So starting as you are from Kerala, I think you're native Todupuzha, right?
Yeah, correct.
So you have studied at MG University. He's a rank holder. After that, he has done his masters and PhD from National University, Singapore. So it's a long way of travel or transformation from Todupuzha in Kerala to Singapore. So now we are working in a lot of cutting edge technology. So what are the difference you are feeling from the Indian educational systems long back and Now we are doing some, you are a professor in university there in Singapore. So what is the
Yeah.
difference you are feeling?
One of the biggest difference I see is the availability of technologies for students, the access to internet, and that helps accelerated the way students learn. So during my time, when I was doing my undergraduate, probably I was learning mostly from reading books and very less dependence on internet. But now, for even a book, I don't open a book. Probably, the students prefer just getting it out from internet. There are plenty of resources out there, and that is in a way a disadvantage also. What is the right one is also a problem. So often students come to me asking that they want to learn machine learning, and they are not sure where to start. There are huge amount of resources out there, and then based on their interest, I just carve out a path. So my job as a teacher is more as a facilitator, tell them the directions on what to learn and then where to get the materials rather than actually teaching them the actual topic. Because it is quite easy for them to find out the information, but what they are lacking is they want a direction. How do they go about? Even in game theory, just I remember a week back, someone was asking me on in NUS itself, they wanted to do a project with me, and they wanted to know how do they start learning game theory. So it was a big challenge for me during my masters, where my master's supervisor told me, Ganesh, for your master's problem, maybe game theory is a good way to handle. That's all. It's a one-liner direction. And then I had to go and sit in the mathematics department's game theory classes, which is 100% mathematical. They just write theorems and proofs. Probably as a computer engineer, I don't understand much of it. Then I had to go through a lot of papers. I don't have any Coursera or Udemy at that time to get a ready-made course. But I would say I spent a lot of time trying to understand the essence of it. And how it helped me is that when I joined IIIT as a visiting faculty, I proposed this module called, this subject called Game Theory for Computer Science. And then the dean agreed. And then I actually prepared this whole materials where I teach this keeping in mind a computer science, a computer engineer. Actually, not computer engineer, any engineer in mind. So it was a very useful course for any engineering student, may it be computer, civil, or electrical or mechanical. They were able to appreciate because it is less of mathematical intensive, more of application. You learn a concept, you understand how do you apply it in a different context. So that helps them go back and then apply in their area. To a long answer short, to answer your question, these days materials are everywhere. As a teacher or a facilitator, my job is more directing them to find the right material, and also based on their aspirations and interest, looking at their career perspectives. In my BTech, my engineering time, probably it was more like a stringent path. There is a set of courses. Even an elective is probably comes with no elective, no choice, because of faculty or whatever. We will just be given, this is elective offered. We have to just take it. But now options are plenty. Yeah, especially in NUS, students do take even minor. I mean, they major in one subject, say computer engineering. They also get a minor in, say, business or biology or whatever is another module area of their choice. So for them, the possibilities are endless. Later, they will be able to be a specialized computer engineer in a medical field because they have best of both. Yeah, this is how the direction is going. Yeah.
So talking with students or while interacting with students, they are highly fascinated about the game theory. All are much game theory. So actually, the main foundation or the fundamental idea of game theory is the mathematical modeling, right? So I would like to know, this is for the students as well as the faculty, what is game theory and what is the fundamentals which we have to undergo during the concept of, during studying the concept of game theory?
Yeah, so let me just bring a small example. If you notice on a highway, when there is a vegetarian restaurant that comes up on the highway, probably the next 2-3 famous vegetarian restaurants will be right next to it. A good example is right after the Kudiran tunnel near Vadakancheri. There are 3 on the row in 100-meter apart. And then maybe for the next 20-30 kilometers, you won't see even one. Or you go to a city, all the jewelry shops will be right next to each other. Or all these clothes shops, famous clothes shops will be right next to each other. And potentially the reason why, because all this comes from the fact of game theory. See, ideally, if you just imagine a beach and someone is selling an ice cream. Ideally, you just imagine this fellow selling, if it is only one person, no matter where he stands, anyone who wants to buy an ice cream in that beach will go look for him, buy an ice cream and go back. Now, the moment there are 2 people, roughly half of the people will go to one of them, half of the people will go to the other one. And now they start, these guys start strategizing. Like if I am somewhere in the center of the beach, I can probably attract both of them, people from both sides. The other guy actually has the same thought. So instead of they sitting on 2 sides of the beach, they slowly put their station somewhere nearer to the middle of the beach. And in the end, what happens is they probably will be just in the middle, right next to each other. And people from the other end of the beach will still have to walk far away. But because of the mere thought that I can grab more business, they all finally end up in a similar area. Having said these examples, game theory is all about handling conflicts. Like if you go to a supermarket, when one toothpaste company says buy one get one free, another toothpaste company says buy a paste and get a brush free, all these are game theoretical influences. Like even as a student, if the student is choosing an elective module in the next semester, that itself actually comes from an implicit game theory application. He will be considering a lot of criteria and then deciding based on what is the best outcome that he can get. Maybe the student chooses the module just because the faculty is nice. So I have a better chance that I can score well. Or maybe there's a sincere student who really think that I want to do a major in business in future and this subject helps me, so I want to take. Or it could be as simple as my friend is taking, so let me take because he will teach me a day before exam. So implicitly, without applying or knowingly understanding game theory, we do make our decisions every single day on every single aspect by applying game theory. So this is essentially an introduction. Game theory means a given a situation of conflicting interest, how do you handle it? Now you start modeling it mathematically. It will come with some discrete maths and some probabilistic principles, and that helps you make the decisions which is good for you or good for the society or whatever, however way you tackle the problem.
Yeah, game theory is having a lot of applications in, in economics, in management, in business, in engineering, in designing games like chess or some other games also. Then, as you have mentioned, in stock market, then medicine. So there are a lot of applications coming. So the main foundation is the mathematics. So what about the coding part? How we can have the computationally supportive coding? In student must be having a hands-on computation, right? So what will be the...
So it's very simple and straightforward. The reason being, after all, game theory is all about decision making. So you formulate the problem, you have some mathematical foundation, maybe a base theory or maybe some probabilistic concepts or maybe a tree, designing a decision tree, whatever that comes behind it. Ultimately, that translates to some mathematical models, and mathematical models can be coded in any language of your choice. So I personally have used MATLAB, C, even C, and also Python at different occasions. So it's essentially language neutral. you won't see much libraries or anything, unlike machine learning, which comes with huge amount of libraries to support you. Game theory does not come with that type of support by any language. The reason being the modeling depends on your problem, your situation, and it varies from problem to problem. So I would say it is absolutely language neutral. It's not biased to any language. You once you have a problem, you model it using your mathematical principles, you will be able to write and solve the problem using any language of your choice.
Okay, while a lot of students using the title that game theory, game is coming, they'll be telling it is used for developing games.
Yeah.
Like computer games, but not only that, a lot of applications are there in other field also. Mostly
Yeah.
the mind will be flowing in that direction. So what is the difference between these when it is
Yeah.
up to, yeah?
So game design, maybe one component of game design is game theory.
Exactly.
For example, if you have a game which is like a board game, for example, or a multiplayer game which involves some fighting or something, or even finding a treasure. The moment it is more than one player and there is some decision making involved, that means that component of decision making or strategic interaction can be modeled using game theory, appropriate elements of game theory. But game design is much more than that. The game design also involves a lot of user interfaces, rules, and many other facts. But definitely, one component of a game design is game theory. If the game is multiplayer game, more than one player, and have a strategic interaction or conflict of interest. So good examples are things like as simple as a chess game to as complex as a fight game, a game that involves fight or race, where you want to be the first. So you need to tackle your opponent in the right way so that you can go and attack and probably get your final rewards. So it can be of any level of complexity. I have had students in IIIT, Hyderabad, and also at Amrita, who used to develop very simple games because I offer this as part of a small assignment in the module, where I tell them, you have given a choice. You can either take a research paper, read more about how they applied game theory, understand, come back and tell me. Or you could potentially design a game which involves decision making and apply some of the game theory principles and come and show me how did you use. So I have had the students who approached both of them. It essentially gives them an interest. Based on their interest, they can apply. So these students who choose games, they often choose some board games or like a tic-tac-toe or that kind of variations. May not be two-player, maybe a two-player, but 4x4 tic-tac-toe or a little more complex. And then they come up with a lot of rules, decision making behind, and then they apply and show us how the system can play. They even play system to user, everything. So where the system makes a user's game theory behind the scenes in their code to make decisions, whereas the user should apply based on his or her intellectual. So it's very simple. Students can simply take any such board games to even understand the essence of game theory in a very simple way.
So while dealing with the mathematics, I think probability plays a vital role, right? Like
probability essentially based.
Inclusive events, all these things will be coming, no? All these events.
A real world game theory always contains imperfect information. So a good example is why that particular company is selling buy one get one free. So me as a competitor company, I don't know why they are selling that way. Is it because they are not able to sell anything, or is it because they want to capture the market? And how do they derive profit? I don't know what happens. There are situations where a flight or company has given ₹1 ticket or a $1 ticket. I have traveled once from Singapore to India. I paid probably $200 in total to and fro, and out of the 200, 199 was only the taxes and other things. The flight rate was just $1. And what is the profit for them? Absolutely zero, right? It is a rather a loss. But as a competitor flight company, I don't know, they may be playing a tactics to grab the market. In future, they may increase the price, or they may have other strategies like add-on luggages, add-on things by which they make their money. So we have absolutely no idea. So the moment there is uncertainty, probability comes in. So all these real-world problems that involves decision making ultimately translates to a probabilistic-based game theory. They are called Bayesian games in general, and they are very popular for real-world application modeling. Another mathematical model that is very popular in game theory is evolutionary computing, which is inspired by biology. Say how animals interact. For example, a hawk and a dove. When they see a food, how do they fight? How do they interact? Maybe two doves, when they see each other, they will just share the food and go without any fight. If it is two hawks or an eagles, they will definitely fight and probably they will still share the half. But they have also made some burns on their body. They were fighting. And if it is a hawk and a dove, probably the dove will just give up. It won't even go and fight with the hawk. It knows that it will get killed. So this inspiration of this biological, how animals behave, how ants behave, how elephants behave, all these influences our mathematics, and all this has also influenced the way game theory has evolved. So there are also evolutionary games which is inspired by all this biological mathematics.
Nowadays, all are talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning. So
Yeah.
what is the role of game theory in AI and machine learning?
The moment AI means AI involves several components. And one such component is maybe machine learning, where you have some existing data, you want to train the model, and the model can start giving you some decisions. But when there are uncertainty, when there are things like autonomous systems, say a robot wants to know the surroundings. Say I have a robotic vacuum cleaner at my home here in Singapore. And this fellow, the moment I turn it on, it is reactive AI. It does not have any predefined notion of my room, because I may change a furniture, I may have an additional toy lying down on the floor. So the robot is actually designed to just start looking at the surroundings, find out what is there, what is not there, and then decide how does it want to clean. It goes and clean. This involves a lot of planning and decision making. And so AI planning and decision making is crucially, significantly supported by game theory backup. So that is where game theory plays. Probably that means this has been there for long years. AI is not new anyway. It has been there in the world for long term. Probably it got some good traction, the required traction in the recent years. That is the truth. And this planning and decision making is an important component, especially for all these autonomous systems, autonomous car, autonomous robots, and all of them. Like this robot, the moment while it is cleaning, I just keep a chair in the middle. It can respond. It can make a decision then and there. It does not collide with the chair. And that comes with its decision-making capability. So that definitely means the robot algorithm has some game theory component, which makes the decision-making on the fly.
Well, designing the models for game theory or AI or etc. As you have mentioned, we are going for discrete mathematics model.
Yeah.
Why we are not going for the continuous part? I mean, preferring the discrete.
So the entire computer science and algorithms are actually backed up by the foundations of discrete maths. Ultimately, what computer understands is just 0 and 1. It does not understand 0.5. So potentially it comes from that aspect. Everything in computer science is definitely foundation by, the underlying foundation is discrete mathematics because of the fact that the system can only understand discrete events. We then try to convert into a continuous space. In fact,
I was just thinking about the sampling concept where we are converting that continuous to discrete part where we are having oversampling, undersampling, and sampled events. So I think mainly we are focusing only with discrete mathematics, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And regarding students, will be always thinking about their projects. It's one of the crucial part where they are going to evolve all the learned aspects. So, what are the trending projects or areas where they can explore in the game theory?
So the good part of game theory is its application area is huge. In fact, a first mathematician to get a Nobel Prize was John Nash, and he is a game theoretician. He got his probably you know the interesting story that Nobel was used to hate mathematicians. So when he put his will, he said no Nobel Prize for mathematics. He defined all other areas, including peace and literature, but there is no Nobel Prize for mathematics. And Professor John Nash still managed to grab the Nobel Prize for his significant contributions in game theory, which influenced economics. So he got a Nobel Prize for economics, even though he is a pure mathematician. He has absolutely zero knowledge or applicability on economics. But what he laid as his PhD thesis back in 1952 became a very influential point called Nash equilibrium, then the Nash games. And that transformed the economics, the marketing, the business industry. And the Nobel Prize team was forced to select him as the economics Nobel Prize winner. So right from there, it is applied in all areas of streams and verticals. So if based on the student's interest, the student, so I have students who apply game theory for credit card fraudulent detection, or there are students who come up with who work on, currently I have 2 students who work on game theory for dynamic pricing. Like pricing is a good example of you really need to adapt your market, like be it a rental of housing rental price, or it is a computing resource price. Based on the competition, based on the market, and based on the demand, you should be able to come up with pricing. So this is another example where game theory can be applied. And there are the students can, if the student is more inclined to biology, maybe working on understanding about cancerous cells, how they interact with the normal cells, can be modeled using game theory. Or if they're really passionate about sports, when a cricket is being played and currently the ball is coming and I hit, should I run or should I just wait? Maybe it is a 6. That decision making can be again modeled using game theory. So opportunities are plenty, and some of these are theoretical to some extent, because when it comes to real world, you may have to go with little more different models, but still to understand the competition, to understand the situation on any area, students have a lot of opportunities to choose projects. One of the good starting points could be to understand the game theory basics. There is a book by Professor Y. Narahari of IASC Bangalore on game theory. I mean, if you just search, I'm sure you will be able to get it. That is a very good resource to understand the basics of game theory. And then I have a YouTube playlist of around 13 videos, small list, which gives the essence of game theory for engineering. Probably computer engineering as a main focus, but there are so many such resources which can be used by the students to get to understand and then start applying in their areas of interest.
Yeah, yes, sir. So actually, I was thinking that this game theory could be applied for management students also, because MBAs.
It is mostly a compulsory course, core module in most of the MBA courses. Like I have seen that in IIMs, NUS Business School, everywhere they teach game theory. It is a mandatory course. Yeah. In engineering, for whatever reason in engineering, the module is not a popular course. I would say that is because of the ignorance. But if you see any engineering field, it's also popular. So it is most likely a core course in all the management courses and also in all the mathematics department courses. But in engineering, it is becoming popular. Like NUS has a game theory module for both undergraduates and postgraduates in the School of Computing, the Department of Computer Science. And there are modules offered in both in other departments like business, mathematics, and many other departments.
I think law also like that, whether if this law is applied, what will be all these decision
Yeah,
making
political
areas.
science.
Yeah, political science,
Yeah,
psychology. But psychology, I think it's a vast area, understanding the situation of mindset. But then also, as Sir has mentioned, regarding all the biological aspects, the human anatomy, like cancer cells or whatever it may be, where this
yeah,
can be applied.
yeah, correct. Like in triple IT, for example, I used to have 200 plus students in my elective class. And then I started restricting because I cannot manage beyond the limit. Students used to find it, many students, when I ask them, they say that they have plans to do MBA or they have plans to become in the managerial line in future. So this module helps them secure a place or understanding more about the economical aspects or the managerial aspects of our mathematics.
I think with the upcoming NEP 2020, more flexibility will be there, like imparting the
Yeah.
courses, and students will be having an exchange program also. And while mentioning about triple ITs, remember that I had done a part of my final MTech project in SDR in triple
Okay.
IT under guidance of Dr. Ram Murthy.
Okay.
Smith is there, he is now doing his PDF. He was a
Okay.
student of Ram Murthy, sir. So, sir, dealing with this all these concepts like AI, how AI and game theory can be in joined together for any application level projects.
Yeah. So that comes with this whole concept of AI planning and decision making. This is a module by itself. This is a subject by itself in NUS. It is that fast. There is a subject here in undergraduates, the third year, called AI planning and decision making, and they also offer a similar module for postgraduates. And this teaches you the concepts, the foundations of when it comes to artificial intelligence. How do you make decisions? And as I said, the real world projects can be designing of autonomous systems. So if they have a small drone or a small piece of hardware, and you want that hardware to look at the surroundings and make a decision, then they can actually make use of some of these game theory principles behind for that particular piece of hardware to make real-time decisions and then get rewards. So that also means that it is closely related with reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is all about looking at the surroundings, get rewarded based on how you achieve certain stages in your progress, maybe driving a car or finding the cheese out of the maze by a mouse or whatever, like games design and all. So again, as I said, what my advice for students is to look at AI planning and decision making, and that will give them a starting point to understand the applicability. And there are, as I said, there are so many autonomous systems. These are becoming more and more common in the world. Like in my apartment complex, part of the security duty is done by a robot. So the robot, they have programmed it to actually walks through the corridor between set timings. It detects unattended bicycles, unattended people, unattended objects, and things like that. And it then goes back to report to the security. So it complements the security. And you see, he has to make, that particular robot has to make a lot of decisions on the fly. Is this bike unattended? How long has it been lying there? How much risk it poses? And all this decision making comes with the AI and machine learning, sorry, game theory. This is a industry level, enterprise level product which is being deployed already. But students can actually play with a toy project of similar things.
In the case of MBA, also students without mathematical background may be joining. So, what are the necessary mathematical requirement as a primary course to do something application-wise in game theory or AI?
Yeah. So the foundational mathematics is essentially to understand all about set theory. I mean, they should know how do things are grouped, uh, how do things are represented at a mathematical form. So set theory, which is also foundation of discrete mathematics. And then they should also have some foundational understanding on probability, and then preferably optimization, not mandatory, but still, ultimately the problem will become an optimization problem. Then they have to either use some tools available to optimize, or they can write their own code to optimize. So these are some of the foundational maths. So in my course that I used to offer in IIIT and also Amrita, I used to teach the required mathematics along with the module, so that the students are actually not restricted that probably one of them they have not studied, so they are unable to appreciate the subject. So I used to give them sufficient background, what is required.
So what motivation do you, to give to students? Actually, you started your career from MG University with a first rank in BTech program, and then masters and PhD from National University Singapore. So nowadays we are having a lot of colleges, or the students from rural area, urban area are coming. There is a lot of gap in the case of language also. Their exposure may also be differing. So ultimately, at the end of the day, after completing 4 years professional degree in engineering, when they're coming out, lot of challenges they're facing.
Yeah.
Because years and years are passing. So what are the motivational facts, irrespective of their background or whatever it may be, how they have to move forward in order to be a part of this competent world?
Maybe I can tell about myself here. I have studied in a Malayalam medium school until 10th standard. That too a government school. I used to go by the private buses by paying the 10 paise or 15 paise, with sufficient fight with the bus cleaners and conductors, because they don't appreciate us because we don't give enough money. With that struggle, I have studied until 10th standard. And when I moved to a technical higher secondary school on 11th standard, it was a huge gap for me. Everything in English. I used to have my books with half of the page dedicated to just write the meaning of the words which are written above, and having a dictionary right next to me. But it just took, it was only a matter of time. Like in one of the movies, Prithviraj says, it's a matter of time. Ujam. So
Yeah.
by end of my +1, I was already able to cope up with other friends, other classmates who came from a complete English medium background, who had no difficulty at all in coping up with the subjects. And then in +2, by end of +2, I was fourth in the class. So to me, that is fourth is actually more than first, because I came from a completely different English Malayalam medium background with absolutely very low exposure to English, and until then I know probably only Prakasha Samsleshanam. I don't know what is photosynthesis. I know only it's Malayalam word. So even the word development means Vikasanam, I have written in my book. When I recollected later when I saw the book. And then I got 562 as the engineering rank. I should have got placed in any university in college in Kerala, except maybe UCT Trivandrum. That was the only one which may have filled before my rank at that time. But I chose to study in my home because it is very near to my home. And all the 4 years of my BTech, I used to take tuitions at home. In fact, I started taking tuitions when I'm in 10th standard. So I used to have students at home. And then during my engineering, around 2 years, I used to go to a tutorial college. At that time, this concept of parallel college or tutorial college was so famous. I used to go to a tutorial college every day morning, and 45 minutes I used to take computer science classes, and then rush from there to my college for my own studies. And when I got a job, even though I was a university rank holder, my first job was, in fact, they treated that, okay, he's from a very third level university, not IITs or NITs. It's a normal university college. So the job, the team that I was in was a system testing team. And system testing means I use computer only for checking my mails. The entire day, other than that, is in the lab, which is full of cables and wires. And I used to connect the cables physically to make some scenarios for a mobile network and then test the mobile calls, test the mobile data. This was a telecom company. But from there, I was able to get a job, which is a development job in a computer science field very quickly. That was NXP, which was spawned from Philips. And then I came here to Singapore. Again, it was only a merit. To be very frank, I tried GRE for 2 years, and I got full marks in mathematics both attempts, 2 attempts of GRE. But in both attempts, my English score was less than half. So NUS actually did not want to have a GRE. For them, GATE is enough, and that too optional. They look at your merit. While I applied for some universities in US, but I stopped that applications in halfway and decided that if I get in Singapore, I will go because it is near home. I did not get in NTU. I applied in both NTU and NUS, but I got in NUS. And then after starting my master's here, we see that there's a huge difference. The Chinese students will come and they take 5 modules on each semester. They're so hardworking. They just complete the master's in 1 year. And while our Indians, we are actually a little more relaxed. Most of the Indians will complete the master's in 1.5 years. And I was no exception too, because I got to see a Kathakali team here. So I used to start enjoying my life, not just studies, doing other part-time things, join some student clubs and activities. And that changed my whole perspective of how our life should be. And while doing masters, I already applied for PhD, again in both NUS and NTU. I got 3 offers, all backed up by my game theory knowledge. All of them gave me an offer because they wanted to utilize my game theory knowledge. And I choose one of them. If you see, sky is a limit for anyone. It's only our will that actually can take us to anywhere. If you just give up, it also depends on other people who influence you in your life. There are a lot of people who might influence you knowingly or unknowingly. Like when I completed I joined for my +2, I had one of the shop owners in my hometown, Todupuzha, Mr. James Chatton. He actually sent one of his employers to Thrissur, and at that time PC Thomas R coaching was the most famous. So he sent one of his employees to inquire about that coaching, and why he should do it for me, I don't know, but he did that. And then he came back and just ordered my father that we have also already inquired everything. Your son should go and study there for entrance coaching. Now you choose the package. There are 2-3 ways he can study. Choose one of them, you must send him. No choice. I don't tell you to consider. And my father sent me all the Onam, Christmas and final vacation. 60 days I went to PC Thomas R coaching. So I'm sure that helped me grab a better rank. And that means there are so many other people who influenced as we move along. I'm sure any student, what they just feel is that where there is a will, there is a way. Their background or they are not knowing language, they come here. If they come here, they will see that all these Chinese students, they can't even talk basics. They use a translator physically in their hand. When you ask them something, they literally look at that, translate, understand, and then they respond. And they are also successful. They come. So that means we are far better than them. It's only where we compare, whom we compare with.
Exactly, sir. It was highly motivating because I just summarize one thing I got from your story, that from your childhood day itself, game theory was evolving in your mind, decision making, traveling in a bus while joining an entrance coaching, because it's all about decision making. Exactly. You are taking a decision, and I think that passion was there towards this mathematic modeling, or it's somewhat the decision making only what we have to do. There will be many people pointing out that he is incompetent, why he is doing this. He doesn't know English properly, and there will be a lot of hurdles in front of us. And this
Yeah,
is, actually, your story is actually a motivating story for all the students, because we are from different background. Irrespective of the background, it is something, that destination or the hardship or the will in our mind, that makes
yeah,
us move. Lot of people will be criticizing, because when they're criticizing, only the potential difference will happen.
exactly.
Otherwise, we will not move forward.
Yeah,
So exactly,
and
it's highly motivating thing.
yeah, and one more advice to parents is do not force kids to learn whatever parents want. This is the biggest mistake most of the parents do. Rather, it should be at that age of degree level, students are mostly matured enough to make their own decisions. And if you let them choose what they want, they can excel. I mean, we just not only want computer engineers and doctors, we also want musicians, we also want actors, we also want
Yeah.
everyone, designers, models, artists, so many other things. Dr. L. Subramaniam, Padma Bhushan Dr. L. Subramaniam, he is a doctor by MBBS, but he got Padma Bhushan for his violin mastery. So, my small advice to parents is appreciate kids, give them chances. Like my son currently learns piano, drums, mridangam, taekwondo, and swimming. 5 of them. I'm sure after 6 months he will probably drop a few. But this actually helps him understand a wider perspective, and then that helps him understand what really interests him, and then he may choose one of them.
Yeah, on going through profile, one thing fascinated, as you mentioned about arts, we are a Kathakali artist. So a lot of mudras, all these things will be, I don't know Kathakali in theoretical way, but it's a traditional art form, very difficult also. How machine learning, what is the application? I had just gone through a profile, like you are linking some machine learning with Kathakali mudra. So can you please give an idea about it? Because it's quite interesting part.
Yeah. So one of my uh, vision in while all through my life was that how do I contribute to this art? My father used to carry me ever since I am 3 years old to the temples wherever Kathakali happens, and I used to watch this dance. And to Kathakali, 20 people watching a show is actually a good audience. It is as equivalent as a houseful movie because 20 is a big number. Uh, and I used to be quite sad because it is such a sophisticated art and it has so much of elements. Not only Kathakali, you take Kudiyattam or any such arts, they all actually these days, thanks to social media, thanks to a lot of efforts, the interest and audience reach is much more than how it used to be maybe 20 years back. But still, so I was always thinking, how do I use some of my expertise in this art? So one way I used was in Singapore when I was doing my PhD. We had a performance with masters from Kerala who came over to Singapore and performed. And the simplest way we did is we gave workshops, demonstrations and workshops to the registered participants to give them introduction to Kathakali. I used to prepare PowerPoint presentations, some video clips, and also my own demo. So when they actually came for the event, they were able to appreciate the art much better. And then we also prepared a subtitle, a PowerPoint subtitle, and I used to display it as and when on live, on parallel to the event. I have seen 90% of the audience, the moment the next music starts, they look at the slide because they are so curious to know what it is. And they were able to appreciate the art. So we have to accept that it is complex art, and we also need other ways to engage with audience so that audience reach is high. And with that intention, in while working in Amrita, we applied deep learning technologies, machine learning technologies, to detect hand gestures. Kathakali has 24 hand gestures. So if I show a mudra, whatever mudra in Kathakali, can I detect it? That is the first step towards understanding the meaning. So it is just like if you show a letter A, if a machine says this is letter A. In the same way, by showing this, it should say padagam, mudrakya, kadagam, like that. the mudra name. So this is the first stepping stone. In future, this can lead to even a subtitle form on a live video. But as a stepping stone, this was my first attempt and it was successful. I had this master's student who worked with me. There is no data set, obviously, because this is a problem where there is no existing data. I used to make my hand gestures and do selfie of my hand and then just upload it into a drive. And I taught that student how to some of these mudras, and she seek help from her friends, and they also started making. So in different backgrounds and different color shades, we got sufficient data. We published the data set. Recently, I have seen that around 700 people have downloaded the data set. So out of 700, if 7 people are actually using it, that is an achievement. And currently, I have just almost completed a project on identifying the type of Kathakali character from an image. And then I have a project lined up on identifying the facial expression, the Navarasas from an image. And also a project lined up on the music segmentation. I mean, Kathakali music has different segments. There's a sloka, abhinaya, art, dance, whatever, different components. So I have, there is a project with some students where they are going to work with me on this music segmentation of Kathakali. So, and all of these are actually possible because of the AI technologies, like all the deep learning and other analysis. So this is just what I can contribute back to my art, my passion. Yeah.
Yeah, truly, because as you have mentioned, sky is the limit. A lot of traditional arts can be transformed with the help of deep learning, artificial intelligence, and all, where more reach will be there. Like,
exactly.
Actually understand, if I am not able to understand the mudras and all, I can't understand the concept of the Kathakali.
Exactly.
So with
That's
the
the
help
biggest
of
problem.
technology, yeah, it's a great thing you are doing. And
Yeah.
because you are personally you are good in Kathakali and you know the art form, it will be more easy for you.
Yeah.
So on hearing all these projects ongoing projects, I am really fascinated, and it will be a great treasure and pleasure for engaging students from India, from Kerala also with you, if possible. If any of
Yeah, I have students from India. I have students, some students who do such projects remotely. Now, since the internet is accessible,
yeah,
Zoom is everywhere. One of these Kathakali project is actually done from Zoom I think he's from Rajasthan. I mean, he has no Kathakali background, but he is good in machine learning. And since I have Kathakali background, it was a good match. He's from BITS, one of the BITS institutions. I forgot which one. But I'm always open if there are some really interesting and students with
as the main motto is that we have to reduce the bridge between the rural and urban or the background.
yeah.
It's really we have to create the opportunity for the students. If we are
Yeah.
going some
So
kids at least to able to grow, it's a good thing we are doing.
yeah, so actually keeping that in mind, I have recently started a virtual group called STETS, which stands for Software Engineering and Technological Advancements for Society. And the society that I am keeping in mind is 3. 2 are my passion and 1 is for the society. So the societal one which I am working is healthcare. So I have a collaborative professor from Ireland with whom we are working on some projects on sensor networks, body sensor networks and healthcare AI applied at the edge of the network. That is one section. And the other 2 sections are, one is for education. Primarily, I am an educator. I am a professor or lecturer. So education is there primarily in my mind, driven by my career and driven by my passion. And the third one is purely driven by my passion, art and culture. So keeping these 3 societal angles in mind, I have started this virtual group very recently after joining NUS. And already some students from different parts of the globe are working on it. There is a student from US, and there are many students from India, and there are some students from Singapore working with me.
Yeah, so happy to hear all this from your side. So actually, your commitment to a society is also exposed from your words. So thank you, Professor, for joining with me for this session. And I hope that ഇത് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഇതൊരു നിമിത്തമാവട്ടെ, where I can also join with you and many students can join with you in like incorporating different cultural art form or whatever it may be with the help of technical aid, and which can get a better reach. As India, we know there is a vast culture from north to south or east to west. We can bring it under a common umbrella with the help of technology, as sir has mentioned. So I wish you all the best, and your ongoing projects will be successful, and we'll be meeting again. And I think with the implementation of NEP and the upcoming years, the students will be having an opportunity to interact with process from all over the globe, as now we are talking with the help of this platform. So thank you, Professor Dr. Ganesh Nilakanda Iyer, for joining this session on computer science and game theory. It was an eye-opening session, and I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and hoping to collaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.